Hello guys, welcome to Stitch to New. In our last video, I did something a little different. You guys chose a project for me. We picked project bin number 5, and in today's video, we're going to go through and I'm going to show you step by step what I did, what we found in the box, also what I did with that project, and the finished project we came up with. Hope you enjoy and join us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hopefully in the next few videos, I'm going to show you another box and studio tour. So without further ado, here is box number 5, what was in the box and what we're going to do with it. Alright guys, so I thought I would walk you through my process and tell you what I've decided to actually do with all of this. So here's my block that I came up with. Move it up this way just a little bit so you can see a little better. So I've got the pinwheels, and I've got the border, and I've got the stripe that's going to serve in between. So here comes a lot of math. Move these over here so you guys can see. And I'll show you why my brain hurts. Okay, so I have a total of 79 pinwheels. If I divide that by 5, it will come out to 16 of these total blocks, with the addition of one extra block, that extra block like this that I need to make. So my pinwheels are 3.5 inches wide. My stripes are 3.5 inches wide. So this block will be finished size 9 inches. So 3.5. I'm using 1/4 inch seams, so I will lose a 1/4 inch on each side for the seam allowance. So these will finish at 3 inches. So right now they're 3.5. They will finish at 3 inches. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 will give me a 9-inch block. Sashing. I like the finished 1.5-inch look when I had it on my design wall. So sashing would finish at 1.5, which means I would cut my strips at 2 inches wide. Okay. So with 16 blocks, I could do a layout of 4x4. So 4 blocks wide by 4 blocks long. And doing this, you'll see my lovely sketch here. Sashing block, sashing block, sashing block, sashing block, sashing. So I added all of this together. 1.5 by 9, because my sashing is going to finish at 1.5. My blocks are going to finish at 9. So 1.5 times 5 for my sashing is 7.5 inches. 9 inches for the blocks times 4, which is how wide I can make them, finishes 36. So 7.5 plus 36 equals 43.5 inches wide is how wide this would be. So if I only use the blocks that I already have made, and don't make any more other than the 1 block. I gotta make it an even 80 blocks instead of 79. I can have a finished quilt 43.5 inches square. That would make a good size baby quilt. That's cool. I could use that for my quilt ministry at church. It would make a beautiful quilt, baby quilt. But I like to do queen size quilts. So I took these dimensions, since this is the block layout I love, this is the sashing I love. The only thing extra I would have to do is make 1 more pinwheel block, and we will be good to go with that one. But I like queen size quilts. So paper number 2. If I wanted to do all of this in queen size, what would I need to do? because I have extra fabric. I have background. I have the setting stones. I have several more of the charm packs. What would it take to get it to a queen size quilt? So, queen size quilt averages 84 inches wide but 92 inches long. So the block plus one side sashin, so I can figure out sizes. So I have a 9-inch block and a 1.5-inch sash would be 10.5 inches. So this would be 10.5 inches. So I took the 84 inches wide, divided it by 10.5, and it comes out to exactly 8. So I would need 8 blocks wide. Took the 92 for length, divided that by 10.5, and I get 8.76 inches. Not going to do 0.76 of a block. So round it to 9. So I would do a 8-inch wide by 9-inch long block. So 8 blocks wide, 9 blocks long, means I need a total of 76 blocks. So I need 76 of this. Sorry, 72. 72 of these to make a queen size quilt. Cool. Sounds right. Sounds pretty good, right? Now, I need 72 blocks total. I have 16 already made, or enough blocks to make, enough pinwheels and things to make 16, which we saw on this sheet. So I only need to make 56 new blocks. Okay? What do I need for that? For 56 new blocks, I need to make 5 pinwheels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pinwheels for each block. I need to make 56 times 5, 280 more pinwheels. More pinwheels. I have 79 made. Cool, right? All right, I'm excited. Let's make 280 new pinwheels and come up with this queen size quilt. Well, I got a problem. Page 3. So it takes one 5-inch charm square to make a pinwheel block. So each one of these I can make one pinwheel block. That's cool. I have extra charm squares. I have plenty of the other 2 fabrics to do this with. Let me count my charm squares. So I counted my charm squares. I only have 88. I need 180. So queen size quilt is out of the plans. No way I can do it because I don't have enough of the charm squares to make a queen size quilt. So all of that math won't work. So then I decide, okay, I have 88 more charm squares. What size quilt can I make with this? So I only have 88 squares. 88 5-inch squares. So each, like I said, each charm square will make one pinwheel. And I need 5, so 88 5-inch squares. I need 5 pinwheels. That's the number of squares. I need 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to make one of these blocks I'm looking at. So that means I need 17. I can make 17 more blocks with the charm squares I have. So 88 divided by 5 equals 17. Number of blocks I can make. So I can make 17 more blocks. I have enough already made to do 16, I can do 17. So 17 I can make. 16 blocks I already have enough to make. Means I could have a total of 33 blocks if I made all of these into pinwheels. Okay, so that means I could do a layout. I was trying to come up with, I like rectangular quilts, not square quilts, but I could do a layout of 5 blocks wide by 6 blocks long. What size would that come out with? Because that would be about the maximum size I could do with the charm squares I have. So if I do 5 wide, so 10 and a half, remember that's the size of my finished block with this one side of sashing, would be 52 and a half inches wide. 6 inches long, so 10 and a half times 6 would be 63 inches long. Okay, what is that close to? A twin size quilt, average size, is 63 inches wide by 88 inches long. Okay, I could do this size and get 55 inches wide and 63 inches long, and then add some borders to make it come out to a twin size quilt. Awesome. I only need to make 88 more pinwheels. Sounds doable, right? So I could come up with a twin size quilt. You see who's helping me out with all this math. Okay, she gave up on sitting in her spot and decided for me to love on her. Okay, I can make a twin size quilt. I can make a twin size quilt. I have nobody who would want a twin size quilt. My son has a king size bed. I have a queen size bed. My church ministry, we do baby quilts. Sometimes we might do a cuddle size quilt. Don't know anybody who would want a twin size quilt. So, what am I going to do with this project? After all of this math that hurt my brain, I'm going to do the baby quilt. So I'm going to take the blocks we have. Yes, she's just tuckered out, can't you tell? I'm going to make one more pinwheel block. And I am going to put this together and make the quilt for my church ministry. So it will be a baby size quilt. Let's go all the way back to number 1. So I need a total of 80 pinwheels. I have 79 made, so I need to make one more pinwheel, cut out all the other pieces and the sashing, and then come up with that corner stone. And I will have a finished baby quilt 43 and a half by 43 and a half. So, wish me luck. That's going to be my goal this week. I will do a video for this, so if you would like to see my process, I'll show you how I go from the charm squares to the pinwheels. I'm going to cut up enough of the stripes so that I have enough for the whole quilt. I'll cut out my sashing, and I will come up with that cornerstone to see what color I'm going to use. Probably something in the pink range, since there's so much pink here. And I'll let you guys monitor my progress. Thank you so much for voting for your favorite project. We'll go back and do this again next week. So I'll put these all out again. I'll randomly pick, or I'll let you guys randomly pick another box. And then I will also, in our next episode, I will give you a tour of what I did in the studio, because you can see behind me, there's been a lot of changes and a lot of updates and more projects found. But I have a plan, and now that I have a space, I'm going to work through it. So enjoy the video, sped up really, really fast, of me getting this sewing studio this end of my sewing studio into a working area where I can actually do projects. The lady girl helped me out the whole way. Yep, you did, didn't you? So watch me move furniture, move things, put stuff in places, decide, don't like it, move it, didn't like that, moved it again. But to get it to where it's at. So next week, or next video, sorry I keep saying next week, next video, I am going to show you the tour, what I did, what I rearranged, and let you see the results. And as always, keep stitching. This is Lynn with Stitch to New. Please like and subscribe. Lady Girl and I would really enjoy it. Okay, for the pinwheel project, I need to make one more pinwheel. Let me see. Let me get one that's a little easier to see over here. There you go. So I'm making one more. These finish at they are 3.5 inch and will finish at 3 inches square. So I've got my background and my 5-inch charm 5-inch charm square. They're both 5 inches. So I'm going to take the background, flip it over on the back, and from corner to corner on both sides, I'm going to draw a line. This is, you could use any heat erasable pen. This is the Friction Fine Liner Pilot. Hopefully you can see that. But I'm going to take my ruler and line up. And let me give you a little tip. When you're drawing a line from corner to corner, move your ruler just a thread for me to the left of where I'm working. That way my line can be right on that tip. So see, my line is right on that tip. I'm going to flip it over and draw another one. It'll be just a thread off of the tip in both directions. Let's see. There's my X. Now I'm going to place these right sides together, and I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew 4 lines. I'm going to do 1/4 inch from each one of these lines on each side. So let me move over to the sewing machine and show you what that looks like. Okay, for my machine, I have this 1/4 inch tape, came from Fat Quarter Shop. I have the red line is lined up with my needle. The black line is my 1/4 inch line on either side, and then I also have a 1/4 inch foot. So I'm going to take that line, and I'm going to do this left side first. I'm going to line it up here with my foot, but also, let's see, can you see? There you go. This line, I'm going to keep it on this 1/4 inch line so that I can follow it all the way through, so I can make sure that my stitching line stays straight all the way through. You see, I'll follow that black line all the way through. I'm not even looking at my foot or the line. Cut my thread. Flip it around. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Line this up, and go. Okay, so you'll see both sides of that line, and we'll flip it around and do the same thing on this line. Flip it over. what it looks like. So I've sewn a 1/4 inch on either side of that next to both lines. So let's move this over to the cutting table. Okay, here's that piece after I've sewn those 1/4 inch lines on either side, or 1/4 inch seams on either side. Now I'm going to take, so this is a 5-inch charm square, and I'm going to measure, should go right through the center of that 2.5 inches. So it goes right through that center, up and down, and cut. Not going to move anything. I have a rotating cutting mat. I'm going to turn, and I'm going to do the same cut on this side. 2.5 inches, and it should go right through that center of that X in the middle. Now, I got 2 more cuts to make. I also need to cut on those lines. These don't have to be as precise because you're in between your seam allowance, but it doesn't hurt to be precise. Turn it again and cut that last line. Open them up. There's my 1/2 inch triangles. Excuse me, 1/2 inch squares. So I'm going to take these to my iron, and I'm going to press them to the dart. And then I'll bring them back and trim them. So let me go iron, and I'll be right back. Okay, got them ironed. So press them to the dart and realize that the way I was making these, I messed up my math. Again, I told you my brain hurt with the math. I have, instead of the 4 I need for a pinwheel, alright, they're not trimmed yet. Let's see. This one. Let's see. I'm going to do it that way. And this way. I have enough for 2 pinwheels. So that means instead of making 1 pinwheel out of each one of those charm squares, I can make 2. However, got that one in there wrong. Looking back, I still would not have enough to be able to make a queen size quilt. Still about 100 charm squares short, so I'm going to stick with the original plan of making this into a baby quilt. So out of this one 5-inch square, I'm going to wind up with 2 pinwheels, which is just fine. So before I can sew them, I have to trim them up. So for each one of the squares, I'm going to trim them to 2 inches. So I have this nice little, you can see that real good against the pink, but I have a 2.5 inch scrap ruler that I use a lot here at my sewing machine. But I'm going to use this, and I'm going to square these to 2 inches. So I'm going to find that diagonal on my square, and I'm going to line the diagonal on my ruler with that. And then make sure I have a little bit extra on each side. So I'm going to do 2 sides. This one. This one. Move this out of the way. Flip it over, and then the other two sides. I'm going to make sure this side and this side are lined up. This one. And there's my 2-inch square. So I'm going to do this with each of the 4. So again, line up. Make sure I put a little bit extra all the way around. Flip. Make sure you put it lined up. We only got slivers there, which is fine, as long as we've got a little extra. This side. Aim this off a little. Flip it around. Throw these away. Alright, let's put this pinwheel back together again. It also helps if you have one you've already done, so you don't have to rack your brain too much when you're trying to remember. And see, I still laid it down wrong. Putting them together. Nope. That way. And this way. So there is our new pinwheel. I will take the other 4 and put them in a pinwheel as well. But there's my pinwheel. So what I'll do, now that I've got it laid out, I'll take my right side, flip it to the left, and I will sew 1/4 inch seam this way. Let me do that and I'll be right back. So you'll see, got them both sewed together, attached in the middle, and then I'm going to open them up, and I'm going to push this seam this way to the dark, just finger pressing right now, and I'm going to press this seam this way to that dark. I'm just finger pressing. And if we did it right, see that little gap right there? If the point came all the way to the corner, when I do my next seam here, it's not going to line up. I need to have that 1/4 inch space right here so that my seam allowance will make those points come right together. Okay, so I've got those two. For right now, I'm just finger pressing. I'm going to flip the top to the bottom, and you saw we pressed them in different directions. So I'm going to take these two and make sure those seams are nested. And let me get a pin. And I'm going to put one, I'm going to slip it in on this side to catch that side, bring it straight down and catch the other side. Then if you want, this one's small, you can do each end. pin here. Make sure. And if you're cutting and your seams are accurate, you'll see everything lines up. So let me do this. Doesn't matter. So when I take this to the sewing machine, I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch this way. And can you see that little point right there? This seam meets that seam. I want to come right across there with my 1/4 inch seam. And that will make my points. Okay, let me put my pin back in. Take it over to the machine. And I want to make sure that when my needle is going through, it goes right through that point. Okay, so you'll see, I'll get my pen, see how it went right through that point? Now, if I did a good enough job, when I open this up, there we go, all my points should line up. And we should have a very good point right there in the middle with no blunt points. Now, I'm going to take this to the iron. You can press this seams open. I'm just going to press to one side because that's what I've done with all my others. So I'm going to press it to one side and then we'll come back and we'll trim this. There's my block so far. Now, you'll notice there's lots of strings here. This should be almost 3.5 inches. So let's check this out. I want to take that diagonal line, line it up with my block, and I should have 3.5 inches. I am very, very close. So I want to line that, what is that, 1 3/4 in the middle, both directions. And you'll see I've just got a tiny hair around the outside edges and those strings. That's what I trimmed. Now I'm going to flip it around. I should be able to line that 3.5 inch and that center line. There we go. And then trim, hopefully just threads, and a tiny little bit. There we go. And there's our 3.5 inch pinwheel. Let me show you what I did next. Alright, here's the next step I did. I took the striped fabric that I had cut into 3.5 inch squares and I put them in place. Then I put together one at a time how I wanted the blocks to look, which ones coordinated. Let me flip these. So that's what the next block will look like. This is the block we just made. I put it in the middle. And so I put my pinwheels and stripes together until I liked what it looked like, and I stacked them. So each one of these stacks, I have 16 blocks here now, or 16 pinwheels and stripes in each pile. And now I'm going to assembly line sew these to put my block together. And then I'll come back and add the sashing to one side. So what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is take a picture of just what it looks like here. Because I want to remember which fabrics were on the top. Okay. Once I take that picture, I will move this group out of the way, and then I'm going to start sewing. I'm going to take my right pile, put it on the left. Whoops, one's got two. And I will sew this seam, and I'll go all the way down. Then I'll start back again. I'll take the top one, and I'll do all the way down till I have done all of the stacks. Let me show you what that looks like at the sewing machine. Okay, so I have moved the stacks right here next to my machine. I'm going to slide these down just a little bit. And so I'm going to take the top stripe, flip it to the left, line these up. Again, I'm using that line here as well as the line on my machine. I'm sorry, side of my presser foot. And I'm going to sew those two together. And then I'm going to pick up the second one. Take this one, flip it over, pick up the stripe, make sure they're lined up, and keep sewing. Not breaking my thread. And then the third one. This helps me keep everything in order, and I know which direction, because especially with this stripe, I don't want to turn the stripe a different direction and create a new design. I want to make sure everything is facing the correct orientation. So I finished my first three. They've come through the machine. Now I'm just going to go back again and pick up the top one, flip the right one to the left, line them up, and put them through the machine. You'll see I lift the presser foot a little bit for that last one so that the seam doesn't flip. This one is upside down, so I'm just going to move it over. Now I've got the top two done, and I'm just going to keep doing this until I have a big long chain, and then I'll show you what I'll do next. Okay, just sent the last block through of that first step. So let me go ahead and finish it going through. So this is the last one. You'll see I've got a mess back here, but there's a method to my madness. I'm pulling it straight. Okay, now this, make sure everything's turned right, is the top of where I was at. And there should be that green flower at the top. I just double checked in my phone to make sure this is the top left of my block that I had. So what I'm going to do, push this over to the side, and I'm going to get, so here's my set that I pushed over to the side. Now, I have to do things, if it was on the left, it has to be on the left. If it was on the right, hello there, lady girl. Did you come to check out what we're doing? So, I'm going to move these to my right because, hello there, darling. All right, you got to come back over here and sit down. No, got to come back over here and sit down. Hi, go lay down. Go lay down. So, these are still in the order. Can you see those? You can't see those. There. They're just to the right of my needle plate. So this is still the order that they were in. So I'm still going to continue to chain piece. So here's that chain I just had opened. I'm not going to cut anything apart. I'm not going to move anything. For this top one, this is still the exact, I haven't twisted or turned anything. I just slid them over. I'm going to take this top one, flip it over, line that edge up, and I'm going to do my 1/4 inch seam. See, it's pulling up a little bit. Then I'm going to open this one. Flip the stripe, line it up, send it through. Stripe, and I'm going to get this bottom one, flip and put it on. Sure these are out of the way. Send it through. And I'll do that all the way down the line, making these 3 now instead of 2. Now, gotta remember, stitch lines on this side, and open them up, and keep going. So again, flip them over, open that up, take the top one, put it on, lining that right side up, and use my 1/4 inch seam. Open this one. Straight, right side together. Send it through. Bottom one. And get through. Okay, now I'm going to keep going all the way through, and if everything counted right, it's going to wind up with the exact same number. But I'm just going pile by pile, adding it to it, just like I did the first time. Okay, I've been running these through, adding the 3rd one on to the 2, and I've noticed a few times I'm like, ooh, am I at the top or am I at the bottom? And I realize the way I'm doing this, there's a way to tell. So I know this is the top, and that I need a middle one. Let me sew that one on. Anytime I have a pinwheel, I know that I need to have a stripe to it. So let me run that one through. Okay. So since we're doing them in 3s, because we're doing 3 rows. I've got 2 stripes here. So I know I don't have 2 pinwheels in a row. So this one, the first one, when I open it up, you'll see it's the stripe. I need another pinwheel there. That's going to be the bottom of this 3. And then the next one will be the top of the next one. So this will be here. And then I know this is my next block here. So I need to start at the top for this one. So when I open this one up, that one's going to be for here. That way, if you have to walk away, or you get a little confused about where you're at doing this method, anytime you have the 2 stripes or whatever your block you're putting, this could be a solid, it could be a pink or a blue. When you have 2 of those together, the top one is going to be the bottom of your block, and the next one is going to be the top of your block. Hopefully that was a little bit clearer. Okay, I've reached the end of my string. Cut it. So for each one, I've got 3 blocks across. So my next step is, in between each 3, I'm going to cut the strings. There's a block. Let me go this way. There's a block. Okay. Then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. If I open it, there's a block. And I'm going to keep going for each 3 and cut them apart. Two, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. Almost there. Remember, there's only 16 of these. Three. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And here's my last one. So my next step, let me slide you over here just a little bit. Okay, so here's that block. Let me open it up. So there's my block. That's what it would look like. But I'm a bit wonky looking, and I need to press before I go back and do my last bit of sewing. So from here, I'm going to flip them over, and they're already doing exactly what I want them to do. So the pinwheel blocks, I'm going to press them in toward the stripe, out toward the stripe, into the stripe. So you'll see when I flip them over, they'll be nested. So I'm going to go to my iron, and I'm going to press each one of these in that direction. So I'll meet you back here after I have all 16 pressed. All right, here we go. Here are all my 16 blocks. Go lady girl. Here are all 16 blocks. Come here, out of the way. Finished, pressed. You'll see I've got these all going to the center. I also, move this one over, measured these. These are supposed to be 9.5 inches. Sorry, doing this one-handed, got lady girl in the other. So you'll see 9.5, 9.5. So these are, whoop, can you see that? There we go. 9.5 inches square. This is unfinished. These will finish at 9 inches. So next thing to do with these, get it back up on here the same way for the pressing. The next thing is to add sashing to one side. So cut my sashing. I'm going to put one piece on the right side of each one of these. So I'm going to take, these are cut 2 inches wide because that's the sashing size I liked when I had it on the design wall. I'm going to, and they're 2 inches wide by 9.5 inches long, size of the block. I'm going to flip these right sides together. So with a 1/4 inch seam, and then I will press them open. So here we go. Okay, got all 16. Cut one of these apart. I will iron this out. But I need to take 4 of these, and they need a sash on this side as well. And I'll show you. So I am going to, can you see that? So I am going to pick 4 of these, sew the sash on both sides. So I'll go back and sew the sash on this side, and then I'll show you on the design board why I need a sash on 2 sides of these. So be back as soon as I get these sewn, ironed, and on the design wall. Okay, here they are up on the design board. Looking a little busy right now, but I think once I get the horizontal borders and the cornerstones in, maybe that'll calm it down just a little bit. So you'll see rows 2, 3, and 4 all have that sashing on the right, but here, column number 1, it needed it on both sides so that I have it all the way around. So next, I need to figure out what my cornerstones are going to be. I need to put the sashing top and bottom. So again, the ones at the top, I'll put it on top and bottom. And then row 2, 3, and 4, I'll just put it on the bottom so that when they go together, they'll line up. But I got to figure out these cornerstones. So let me get a couple of ideas together, and then I'll see what I like better. Okay, here's the options I was thinking about for cornerstones. I've got the purples, or kind of a hot pink. It's almost looking red from here. Let me get a little closer. So there's the purple. Not bad. There's the hot pink. Don't think I'm liking the hot pink too good because it's reading more red. And I'm thinking when I actually have got the quilt quilted and do the binding, I want to do the binding the same color, there we go, as the cornerstones, and I'm thinking the purple's just going to look better. So purple cornerstones it is. So on to the next step. getting these ready. So for each one of these, they are going to get a purple cornerstone. That's going to go in between my blocks. And on the edge, on that left edge, I actually need 5 of these to go on the other side for that end block. So that's what I'm going to work on now. 5 that look like this, and the rest are going to look like that. Okay, I've got the sashing with the cornerstones attached, and you'll see I've got them laid out with how they'll go. So these are the ones that go on that far left. So one block, I need one on the top. These will get them on the bottom. All of these will get them on the bottom. Look out, lady girl. All right, go lay down. And then 3 more of these will also get one of these on the top. And that will be my top row. But I'm going to sew all the bottoms on first. Lady girl's got to walk on them first. So, and see which ones I think I like the best for the top row. And let me show you. Okay, so here I press these with the block going out. So see how that one goes this way? These with the cornerstones, I press them going in. I've got an extra thread on it. So when I put these together, they will nest and there won't be as much bulk in the seams. And all I did is when I got ready to iron my cornerstones on, I looked to see which direction these were in and pressed the cornerstones opposite. So let me get started sewing. There's Cutie Pie. Just as, let's see, can I show you? There's my sewing machine where I sew, and there's where she sits. That's her favorite perch in the world. So let me get these sewn together. Alright, got all the sashing around the blocks. So you'll see this block just had these 2 pieces. So I added the top. That's the only one that's got it all the way around. This one had it here. So these 3 blocks I added the sashing to the top and the bottom. Those are the same configuration as these 3. So it had these 2 pieces and I added the long one here at the bottom. Then for the rest, I just added, you'll see, just the piece for these 9. So that's all my blocks with the cornerstones. And if I didn't say so, this is a cornerstone. Okay. Now it's time to start putting the blocks together. So let me show you how I do that. So I always start at the bottom. And I've got first row 1, column 1, column 2. So I'm going to take the column 2 and put it right sides together with column 1. Starting at the bottom. And then I always keep the right side that I'm going to stitch on my right and lay it down. Then I'm going to do the next one. Again, take that one, right sides together with column 1. And I'm going to lay it down on top of the bottom. Again, flip them over. This only works if you make sure you keep everything exactly in order. You can do this one at a time. But as I have said, I like doing things quicker so I can do more projects. So, last one. All right, move out of the way a little bit. Just want to lay down on it. Okay, so let me move you over to the sewing. Okay, here's how I laid them down. This is my right side. This is the left side. This is the top block. And you'll see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs. And I'm going to sew them going down that right side, 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to slide it straight over next to my sewing machine. Okay, so right side, going to do 1/4 inch. Now, need to do some pinning. So here's my cornerstones. I'll line those up. I'll line up the bottom cornerstones. And then there's no seams to nest other than the cornerstones. So I'm just going to put a pin here in the middle, just so things don't slip. Now, I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam on that right side. And I'm watching that these seams don't flip as I go. Again, lining up with that 1/4 inch line all the way down. And watching those points where those blocks come together. Okay, first block done. Same thing, I'm going to do it with the second, third, and fourth, all the way down. Alright, here we go. Top row. Second row. Third row. And fourth. Okay. Back together. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with column 3 and 4. Starting at the bottom. Flip the right one. Whoop. Make sure that's in the right direction. Yep. Flip the right one to the left one. And then laying them down on my table so the right one is on the right. So the right side is on the right. Okay. Again. Take the right one, flip it on top of the left one. Hold it straight and lay them down so the right sides line up. And last, the top. Once again, I'm going to sew with a 1/4 inch down the right side, and then I'll hang them back up and we'll see what we got. All right, column 3 and 4 together. Let me hang those up. All right, back together. Now, for the next row, I'm going to start again at the bottom, and I'm going to take the 2 columns 3 and 4 and flip them right sides together over columns 1 and 2. Show what that looks like. Flip it over, line these up, and the same way, when I pick it up, I'm going to keep the right side on the right side when I lay it down. Over. Together with the right side to the right side. Over. Now, to sew 1/4 inch down that right side again, and we'll have all of the rows together. All right, now the blocks are into rows. Let's put them back up to make sure everything's still looking straight. All right, let's look it over. Whoops, you're a little short there, aren't you? There we go. So, looking good. Now it's time to put the rows together. So, I'm going to take row number 1 and fold it down onto row number 2. Not perfectly, but I'm going to line up the cornerstones with the sashing just to hold it together until I can get it back to the sewing machine. Okay, so it's not perfect, but there's the 2 rows together. Again, right side on my right side, laying it down. Let me show you again with the next one. Take this one, roll it down. Set it on top of this one. Pin here. Pin in the middle. And pin on the end. Now, I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and line all of those seams up and pin. Okay, try to do this as a wider shot so you can see what I'm doing. So here's that long piece, and I'm going to come in and line those cornerstones up with the sashings. I'm going to butt those seams and pin. Do each side of that cornerstone. See that? And then in the middle of this block, I'm just going to put one pin so that it doesn't slide. Okay? So there's that block. So there's the whole seam. So I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch all the way down on this one. And then I will pin and sew this one. Meet you back when I got both of them done. Alright, got those sections together. Let me get them on the wall. Almost there. So now we got one more seam to get this top together. And I guess you can guess what that one's going to be. I'm going to take the top portion, fold it down to a 1/4 inch seam on this middle. Turn it down. Down. Line that middle up with the sashing. And again, just putting a pin in there to just kind of hold it. Nothing is aligned correctly yet. Put this one in just to hold it. And then let's get this other one. And again, on that center seam, I'm going to go through. See, that one's not even close lined up. I'm going to line up that cornerstone with the sashing. Nest those seams and pin. Okay. And we'll do that all the way across. 1/4 inch seam. And for these, I didn't say it before, on these seams going across, I am doing a back stitch at the beginning and the end just to hold it together a little bit better. So let me get that seam sewn and then I'll show you the results. Are you ready for the reveal? Look, Lady Girl is so excited about this reveal. She just can't hold on to it. Here we go. There is the finished top. I am so excited about this. I'm bringing you over for an even closer look. So it did finish about 43.5 inches wide by 43.5 inches long. I'm so excited to have this project finished. Today happens to be Friday, July 3rd, so I'm going to call this the first of Finish It Up Friday. And I look forward to next week pulling out another project. Now, let me find, I've got a little bit more information I want to show you. All right, to wrap this up, I thought I would finish with my leftovers. So I have had these fabrics for quite a while, and just so if anybody is looking for these, I know it's going to be very hard to find them. This fabric with the polka dot says designed and produced exclusively for Joann Fabric and Craft Stores. The stripe fabric just says copyright protected, not intended, and not suitable for children's sleepwear. That's all that's on the salvage. The charm packs, evidently I bought 4 of these, and they're marked. I don't know if you can see that. It says Happy Tones. I don't know where that's from, but I have 2 of these, and I already had used 2. That was on that Scribble Scrabble note that was in my box. So I'm not sure what Happy Tones is, but evidently I had 4. So I will put all of these back into my projects bin and do something else with them. But I thought it was interesting. I have a receipt or a fabric slip from Walmart. This was attached to the striped fabric. And if you look, the purchase date is June 14th of 2013. So I have had this fabric for 13 years. Oh my gosh, I don't know how long I had it in my stash before I bought the other fabrics to go with it. But I paid $4.97 a yard, and I bought 2 yards of it. And the only identifier, it says pink stripe. So, sorry if you are trying to find anything similar, but I am so happy with my finished project, and I can't wait to actually get it on the long arm and get it quilted. But that's my first finish from the boxes. Thank you guys for choosing it, and I look forward to the next project.